flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to the Attleboro School Committee meeting of Monday, June 5th, 2023. This is your notice that this meeting is being electronically recorded. We're going to start tonight in executive session. The Attleboro School Committee will convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 2 and 3, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with union personnel and to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. The school committee will return to open session after the completion of executive session. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Mr. Geddes?
Yes.
Mr. Withers, yes. Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Ms. Bordeaux?
Yes.
Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
All right, so since we have people here in the crowd, we will, the school committee will go to the conference room for executive session, and then we'll come back and reconvene here when we're done with executive session. Open session. This is just a reminder, as notified before, that we are being electronically recorded. Next on our agenda tonight is our spotlight event, and that's our strategic plan update. And for that, I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Regan.
Thank you, Chairman Withers. So tonight I wanted to share with you the action plan and annual outcomes for the strategic outcomes that you had previously approved in January. We've taken some time to really take a close look at that, the work that we've currently done and the work that we want to continue to do moving forward. So, just as a quick reminder, this plan started before the pandemic, and as we navigated through that, we realized that we wanted to maintain our focus on our mission and vision, and which is the reason why we chose that image for the cover of our strategic plan and to maintain our goals moving forward. So tonight we'll review the annual planning process, the action plan briefly with the outcomes and the next steps that we currently have. So tonight we'll be focusing on step 5 of that process, so the approval of the action plan and then also the approval of the school improvement plan. So in your packet, Ms. Nelson sent you this morning was the update on the progress of the school improvement plans. They're on a 2-year cycle, so this was the end of their first year. So they've updated all their plans, and I gave you the overview of that in your packets. So just to summarize, these were the strategic goals that we had. Key main topics for each of the goals. One was for personalized student learning. The second goal was to maintain active relationships with our families and the community. And 3 was to make sure that we are providing access to an education that's responsive to the needs of our students and the community. These are the goals that Superintendent Sawyer and I are currently working on. You'll receive an update on those in September to see what our progress has been for this year. These are the goals that we'll be talking about briefly tonight. So for goal 1 with curriculum and instruction, the district technology plan has been written. We'll be starting off the year right away with professional development from our instructional technology coaches on some of the communication tools that we have through the use of Aptogee, as well as some of the other instructional tools that we have for teachers to utilize. We're also, this year we started with some district data meetings and school-based data meetings. We're putting a system together so that this is sustainable moving forward with our district assessments. And then we have purchased a data dashboard through the High Quality Implementation Grant. We'll be able to take a close look at our state assessments and local assessments and have all of that be in one location. And then finally, we're continuing to always look at our guidance services and transition services for our students. In terms of family and community engagement, the director and assistant director of family engagement and assistance has put a lot of time into systematizing the online registration process. They have a guidebook, and then they've put in some immediate responses embedded within the system so families can get immediate response back once they're registered, and then that information can then also be shared with the schools. So we're trying to make sure everyone knows who's registering and get the information that they need for that student. Finally, we've also been bringing back a lot of our family events. I know the schools have brought back some of their individual family events that went away with the pandemic. Most notably this year, on a district level, we started A Night to Discover, which is a night showcasing student learning as well as the community partnerships that we have. So we'll continue with that next year. Overall, our family partnerships in the community have expanded. We have community liaisons in each of the buildings, and so they have a broad knowledge of the resources available. So if they have families in each of the schools, or if teachers reach out to one of the community liaisons, they'll be able to share that information with them right there, right in the building. And then finally, we have Goal 3 with teaching and learning and subgroup support. So again, we'll be relying on that data dashboard that I spoke about earlier from Goal 1, really taking a close look at how our subgroups are performing and providing interventions and supports where needed. And then also looking or working closely. I know that Ms. Singer and the Human Resources Lab Council have been working to put together some retention strategies and to strengthen the practices of our staff overall. So they'll continue with that work next year moving forward. And so according to the planning process, which we saw a couple slides back, the next steps for us are to launch the brief action items that I just spoke about, and then also evaluate the action or the outcomes that we had from this year. So, any questions about that?
Any questions for Ms. Singer? No. Well, thank you for the presentation and look forward to the update on the next steps. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have our superintendent's report. Mr. Sawyer?
Thank you, Chairman. I've been asked to clarify the situation of our young adult sections in our middle school libraries, and I'm happy to do that for the community. I think first I need to clarify that, as we all know, there's no universal rating system for literature for us to draw upon, but in this district, for reasons of curricular alignment, in our libraries, we use accelerated reader to define which of our books are in the young adult section. Now, accelerated reader is what we use to determine the readability of the books in our library. So we help students make good choices about what would be an appropriate book for them to read when they're in the library by using accelerated readers rating system. The three ratings that accelerated reader uses in our middle schools, or that are common for our middle school books, would be what they call MG, which is middle grades, MG plus, which is middle grades plus, and then upper grades, UG. So almost all the books in our middle school library fall into one of these three rating systems. Both MG and MG plus are just what it signifies. These are books at a middle grade reading level. So these are middle school level books. These are written for middle school age students. They are developmentally appropriate for middle school age students. The basic difference between MG and MG plus is that the MG plus books have slightly more sophisticated content, right? The topics of the books skew a little bit older. And so that helps students to make decisions about their own interests and what they want to read. Accelerated reader, again, that's their ratings. It's based on how they look at these things. From our experience, I think we would say that their rating system is on the conservative side. So if there are any concerns about who's doing this and what their agenda is, again, this is about supporting our reading programs, and so it's not politically bent. And I think that the vast majority, if not all, of the books rated MG and MG plus are off of the list of concerns. And certainly if members of the community find otherwise, you should bring that to our attention. So it's the books that are upper grades, which means they're basically high school level books, right? That is what that rating is indicating. And those are the books in our middle school libraries that are in the young adult section, right? And they are picked because they are, while technically rated for 9 to 12, we have many readers in our middle school who that's their reading level, right? So we have to provide opportunities for kids to read at their appropriate level. And so by having a young adult section, that allows kids who are advanced readers to have access to appropriate materials for them to choose so that they can read those books. So that's why that section exists, and that's how we determine what's in it. And we've made the collections public, and the vast majority of books in these collections are not books of any concern. They're not on people's lists of objections. So in those libraries, I think it's important to understand that for grades 5 and 6, when students are brought to the library to browse for books and to take out books, They are not given access to the young adult section. Those books are kept in a particular part of our libraries, and students are not, in 5th and 6th grade, are not given access to that. And, if the librarian sees a student wander into that section, they are directed out of it because they do not have access. Now, sometimes students want to take out a book from that section, either because they've heard about it, or, even sometimes parents agree that that's a book that they want them to read. So if they ask the librarian if they can take out a book out of the young adult section as a 5th or 6th grader, the librarian will put that book aside and contact home and not give that book to that student without getting parental permission in grades 5 and 6. So those students do technically have access to those books if they are looking to take out one of those books, but it's only with parental permission. And they're not finding out what's in there by browsing it, right? They would have to know that the book is in there or look it up in the system to know that it's there. For grades 7 and 8, they do, when they go to the library, have access to that collection. They are allowed to go to that part of the library and to browse those books. And as we've talked about before, where parents expressed to us concerns about either certain topics or certain titles, that is noted in our library system destiny, and the librarian, it's their responsibility to honor the wishes of parents to make sure that the kinds of books that they don't want for their kids be taken out aren't taken out by the students in grades 7 and 8. And again, to my knowledge, this is not a problem. I am not aware of a situation in which a family has communicated to us that they have a concern and that we have not honored that concern. We did hear about families whose children brought out books that they object to, but in those cases, it's my understanding that they had not communicated to us that they were looking for us to keep their students from taking out this book. So the system relies on parents communicating with us what their concerns are so that we can make sure that we're doing that. So that is how the middle school libraries work. A couple other things I want to clarify. There was some concerns about the handbook language. From our perspective, the language that we were asked to add to the handbooks just reflect, again, what has been the long-standing practice. We have always respected the wishes of parents around these things. These aren't books that are in the curriculum that we are requiring students to read. And even when we do that, there are always opportunities for parents to opt out of that when they have an objection. But this is student choice. And I think the idea in including it in the handbook was to make it more clear to parents that they had that right and that ability. And that's all that language was there to communicate. It doesn't really change anything for anybody. I know that there's some concern about, what's the responsibility of parents? And I just want to be clear here that we will honor any reasonable request to place restrictions on what kids have access to. Now, you might say, well, what do you mean by reasonable? I mean that there are limits to what we can do or anyone should expect us to do. If somebody said, well, I don't want my child taking out any books with the word purple on odd-numbered pages, right? I don't, that's a silly thing. No one would ask for that. But such a request would be unreasonable. So we can imagine an unreasonable request, and we're saying we can't honor that. But for reasonable requests, we should include things like sexually explicit material, books that deal with human sexuality, books that have violent content, right? If parents have broad concerns, our librarians know our books, they know what's in those books, and if parents want to make a broad concern, it doesn't have to be title by title. People let us know what the concern is. We will absolutely take note of that, and libraries will honor that and keep students from taking out books that were related to that. I still think that title by title is the safest way for parents who know that they have objections about specific books. Titles are not ambiguous. There's no gray area as to where the line is. So it's very easy to honor a specific book restriction. But I do understand the feedback that we've received from some parents saying, I can't be responsible for checking every book that's in your library. And while the books, you can, right? Like the books are all available. There are those lists that are on the internet that people can use. So, it's not impossible, but I understand that some people don't want to take that responsibility on. And certainly, it's always a moving target, right? We're adding books and so forth and so on. So even if you did it once, you'd have to keep on top of it. So I understand that, and it's not required that we go book by book. People can make broad concerns made to us, and as we always have, we'll continue to honor that. The other thing I would like to point out is that parents can review the library history of their students in Destiny. That's, again, always been available. So the concern that parents don't know what their kids are taking out, it's there, it's available. I know that doesn't prevent them from taking out a book that parents don't want, but in terms of parents having knowledge of what their kids are reading, that is already available and has been part of the system. And so I'll just conclude by saying, this is, as an issue, surfaced this year. We've been working with community members throughout it to understand the concerns, to make sure we could address the things that we can address, and to be transparent about the things that perhaps there isn't necessarily agreement about. One of the things that has to happen and will happen before the start of next school year is we need to compile all of this and communicate it out to all families. So as part of our August communication, the district will be sending out a specific communication about our libraries, how they work, where to find the resources, how to log into Destiny to see what your kids are taking out, how to express a concern about restrictions on what your kids are able to see. All this information that we've been talking about will be captured together in one communication and sent out ahead of the next school year so that there's better clarity about what parents can expect and how to use our systems to get the outcome that they're looking for.
Thank you. One question I had, because, I think the policy about checking out books is, we've been pretty clear the last few weeks, a month, about what that is. One question that I've gotten is about, well, what about students not checking out books, but going and seeing books in the library? And I have 2 middle schoolers. How much time are middle school students spending in the library milling about and looking at books? Is that something that happens often and for long periods of time? Because that's not my understanding from talking.
I've never taken out the stopwatch to see exactly how many minutes they're in there, but they're not in there for long periods of time to sit down and dig into these books. Do they have enough time that if it's been brought to their attention that there are juicy parts of books, then they know that they're on page 73? Could they run to that book and find page 73? Yeah, in the couple of minutes that they're there, that is definitely possible, but that certainly wasn't happening before all this attention was being brought to it. And they're not there for extended periods of time.
Mr. Storrs?
Just a quick clarifying question. When it comes to the accelerated reading ranking, whatever you want to call it, is that based solely on reading level, or does that also include content?
It includes both.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Gaddis?
Thank you. I have a few comments, but just a couple of also clarifying questions. You mentioned that you haven't received any complaints related to what students have taken out of the libraries where the families have restricted access to certain books, correct?
I am not aware of a situation where that has happened.
And that's for this academic year, but in years past, when would you say was the last time something like that happened?
It was about a decade ago, the last time that we had a problem where someone was given a book that we should not have given them.
And
We put the policies in place that we're currently using as protections as a response to that, because we agreed that, a mistake had been made and we needed to do a better job of preventing that from happening.
And none of the books or content in question has been part of the curriculum or forced on all students. It's just accessible in the library for students that seek it out and have permission to check it out from their parents.
I'm not aware of any of these books being used in the curriculum.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Mr. Withers made some pretty strong comments at our last meeting about being resistant to a ban on books, and I happen to agree with it. I also have no interest in changing our practice, but I'm grateful to the administration for making a concerted effort to better communicate what that practice is for families going into next year to address the concern. I fully support a parent's rights to limit what their student access is, but don't think that those rights should infringe on another parent's rights to allow their readers, like you said, some advanced readers, to access some of these books if they see fit. One of the other concerns we heard at a previous meeting was related to not being able to screen the number of books. And I think you just mentioned that there have been websites referenced that list books that may be of concern, and I think that's a good starting point, but I'm grateful to hear that the administration has in place the ability for families to say, I don't want this type of book accessible to my student. The last thing I'd say, just yesterday, I actually saw a headline pop up, and I briefly read the article, that there was a school district in Utah that banned the Bible and is looking to ban the Book of Mormon from their schools because of the violent and vulgar content, which I think starting to remove books or ban books can create a slippery slope that could be argued on both sides depending on what content different people find offensive. And so I think leaving it to individual families' discretions based on their readers' experience, their readers' level, is the best way to go about it. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Then I'll just, I want to thank the administration again for, you guys have put a lot of time into both looking into past practice, getting the information out, working on, as you said, in August communication. I know, I personally feel, as the administration for the school district, that there are more important things that you guys should be spending your time on. But we have a obligation to the public to respond to their concerns, and I appreciate you guys doing that on top of everything else that you do to provide education for our students. So thank you to the two of you and everyone else in our schools.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Okay, a couple more items of business tonight. First, we have school committee meeting and subcommittee meeting schedules proposed for the next year from August 21st, 2023 to August 13th, 2024. I'll start with the full committee, general school committee proposed meeting schedule circulated with your materials, again, from August 14th, 2024 to August 13th, 2024. A motion to approve? Any discussion or questions?
Just one question. The September 11th meeting that we have booked, didn't we, in the past, haven't we waited a little bit longer into the school year to have that first meeting?
I think school starts earlier this year than it has.
28th, so 2 weeks is
Yeah.
sufficient? Okay.
Anyone else? All in favor? Aye. Next, we have the proposed subcommittee schedule report. Just a note on this. This is for 3 subcommittees: policy and personnel, finance and budget, and teaching and learning. There's a discussion about removing the facilities and infrastructure subcommittee. It was created 8 or so years ago when the new high school project really kicked off, and that had always fallen under the umbrella of the finance subcommittee, and it just became too unwieldy. And with a project of that size, the need for a new subcommittee for that topic became apparent. As a new high school has been built, we've been here a year, the need for whether or not we need a separate subcommittee on that topic is something that we'll be discussing at the policy and at full committee, whether or not we just go back to 3 subcommittees as we've had in the past, or if we continue with facilities and infrastructure, or if we create a separate 4th subcommittee. But that's something to be determined in the coming month or months. So for now, I have a proposed meeting schedule for the 3 subcommittees: policy and personnel, finance and budget, and teaching and learning.
So moved?
Any questions? Mr. Geddes?
So would the intent be for this so I shouldn't ask it, I should state it as a clarification. This would take effect after the summer for the next academic year. It's not something that would take effect for the next term when we have a new committee in place.
Correct. It starts in August.
Thank you.
Correct. Yeah. And just for clarification purposes, this would be the subcommittee schedule in the event a fourth subcommittee is not created. The question is just whether or not we create a fourth and add it to it.
And just to clarify again, as I understand it, we're allowed to make a subcommittee anytime during the tenure. It doesn't have to be agreed upon before the summer. We
Correct.
could decide in next January to start
Yep,
one.
correct. Yeah, if, infrastructure, building and infrastructure was created midterm, so that could, something that, as things come up, can be created.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, next, we have a proposed memorandum of understanding with the Attleboro Clerical Union for the term of July 2023 to June 30th, 2026. The proposed agreement was presented by the negotiating subcommittee and the administration in an executive session. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement.
So moved.
Second.
And just for clarification, I think I said memorandum of understanding before, it's a memorandum of agreement. Any questions or comments? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Withers, yes. Mr. Geddes?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Frappier?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Singer, you'll notify thank you. That's the end of my business tonight. Mr. Sawyer, your report is done as well, correct?
Correct.
All right, moving on, we have minutes from our May 22nd meeting. The minutes were circulated with your packet. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or edits? All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda, 5 items tonight. Motion to accept the donation in the amount of $6,000 from the Feinstein Foundation as broken down in my memorandum of June 1st. Motion to accept the donation in the amount of $800 from West Ed to the Coelho Middle School. Motion to approve the concept approval overnight international field trip proposal for 45 grades 9 through 12 students to travel to Amsterdam, Paris, and London in April of 2026. Motion to approve the concept approval overnight international field trip proposal for 45 grades 9 through 12 students to travel to Italy and Spain in April of 2027. And a motion to accept the contractual obligation in the amount of $31.85 from Planet Aid, Inc. as broken down on the check receipt dated May 18th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, we have open forum. Before I open it up to open forum, just a note of housekeeping. Under the open forum rules and regulations, the committee has the right to limit the time of speakers and also to ask speakers to speak as a group on a topic. I have no interest in asking speakers to speak as a group. However, we have had a topic that's been discussed by both sides at several meetings now, and so open forum, all speakers will have a three-minute limit to speak, to say their piece, and address the committee on any issues of their concern. And that will go for any speakers addressing the committee. That being said, I will open it up for open forum. If there's anyone who would like to address the committee, please come forward to the podium, state your name and what you'd like to state.
Hello, my name is Jocelyn Connors. My address is 58 Stanley Street. I'm a 17-year-old student currently enrolled as a junior at Attleboro High School. And although I am not usually one to so publicly rock the boat, when I heard of recent developments threatening my very lifeline when it comes to Attleboro Public Schools, I thought I'd emerge from the woodwork today to speak not only to you on behalf of myself, but at least part of our student body. From hearing recent debate, it has come to my attention that the matter of banning books to the parties in support stems from the belief that doing so protects students, their own and everyone, assuming myself included. However, I come before you today to truly ask how such censorship intends to save us, as the choice of access to challenging books requires young folks like me to look beyond their worldview and truly see the current, to question systems of injustice, to choose our futures for ourselves. And having that exposure has empowered me over the years to find my voice, knowing that there's risk in knowing how my words may be received, yet knowing that there is still power in them. That our possible discomfort in reaction to these books symbolizes the existence of an opinion as a matter of having both sides. That without American edge literature and confronting that which is not alike to our own, we are stuck in a state of ignorance and stagnancy. And when did it become your choice to take that away? When did we become so innocent that we must always stay consuming the work of your world, when we could read and ultimately learn to better it? In addition, on the matter of protection by barring general access and providing warning to every novel that requires critical thought to consume, what about those on the other side? Coming as a student who faced harassment in the district for fundamental aspects of who I am that I cannot change and has struggled with finding her way, it bothered me that the catchword of bullying was used in an attempt to justify the taking away of that which saved me. Without books that upset some people of similar experience, I would have lacked the safety blanket of recognizing that my experience didn't place me as so alone in the world. And I know for many others, these books, that may not speak to the experiences and privileges of some, provide that assurance as well. Regardless of whether or not one may like it, children who face that discomforting reality every day do exist and don't have the net of privilege to necessarily protect them from the occasional cruelty of the real world and its systems. And sometimes these books are their only way out. Also, if we limit what we all see and offer censorship as the total solution of protecting our children, where does it stop? Who's to say my discomfort shouldn't limit me from asserting my opinion on non-like-minded individuals such as yourself and make them consume the media I have no problem with, as theirs makes me uncomfortable? With reading, we have a choice, and by banning or even limiting access to books for everyone, we ultimately sow more ignorance and hurt our children through sheltering, asserting adult opinions over their own conscience, not allowing for dissent against wrongness we may observe, and allow the other side to spit the same very rhetoric right back and weaponize it against our comforts. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the committee at open forum tonight?
My name is Scarlett Domenici. I live on 15 Siena Road. Throughout my life, I have always been encouraged to advocate for myself when I feel things are not right. I feel that it's not right that students have been underrepresented in the conversation about banning books, which is why I stand before you tonight. I stand before you tonight here because I do find this quite ridiculous, standing here arguing over books, having to hear that people I don't know want to control the media that I consume. What gives them the right to do that? Again, I don't know these people. I've never seen most of them before. Are the people who are trying to ban books trained in developmental psychology? Have they read the books? Are they teachers? Somehow they think that they should be in charge of what I read. I'm 15. I love reading. I'll read almost anything I can get my hands on. And because I consume so much, I've learned so much about the world. I've learned about places, people, cultures, and religions I never would have thought about before. Reading has helped me gain empathy for others around me. It has helped me understand how others work and how the world works. To take that away is unthinkable. Now, I know that parents should absolutely be involved in what their kids read. Parents understand them best and know what is appropriate for their children at a given time, but that should be limited to their household. Otherwise, they are taking away other parents' right to choose what their child has access to. In addition, some of the books that have been brought up aren't even close to what people seem to think they are, especially when you take excerpts from the internet out of context. The world is an interesting place. There's a lot people don't teach you. There's a lot that people are afraid to teach you because it's been taboo for many years. But that's changing with the modern wave of honestly written books that engage with the darker aspects of the human experience. They can be the guide that kids need. They are often meant to be that guide, a safe way to learn about things people don't want to talk about, that people are scared to talk about. To take them away could be disastrous. Jason Reynolds is an author whose works have been challenged as appropriate for my age group. He said being uncomfortable is not the same as being unsafe. Be not afraid of discomfort. If you can't put yourself in a situation where you are uncomfortable, then you will simply never grow. And to put it simply, it's much better to learn about certain topics from books than from a shady friend or a violent website. And if we're really going to get into what material kids shouldn't have access to, I don't think we can avoid mentioning the internet. As an Attleboro parent said, whether it be YouTube or Snapchat or Google, most kids have some form of access to online media, and a lot of parents put very little effort into restricting that access. Finally, I would like to leave you with a quote from acclaimed author Stephen King. Book banners, after all, insist that the entire community should see things their way and only their way. When a book is banned, a whole set of thoughts is locked behind the assertion that there is only one valid set of values, one valid set of beliefs, one valid perception of the world. It's a scary idea, especially in a society which has been built on the ideas of free choice and free thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the committee tonight at open forum?
Anthony Marine, 500 Menden Road, Attleboro, and I'll be brief. So we can't and we won't quit. I mean, this is for our kids who are not only tomorrow's leaders, but today's. Please know that even where we are on different sides of the aisle, we reach out to partner with you, being mindful and thankful for all the good that you've done for our kids as you remain in the trenches. It's needful to continue to uncover what is masquerading as educational or enjoyment material in APS libraries available to our students. Consider this list, some of which was already demonstrated in our readings, and if anyone liked the titles, authors, pages, etc., would be pleased to pass that on. Books found in our schools' libraries contain nudity, bestiality, animal cruelty, sexual activities, alternate sexual acts, explicit sexual acts, obscene sexual acts with graphics, aberrant sexual activities, adult-only content, and yet these are found in the APS. There's also adult sexual activities with minors, even removing a pamper, as you previously heard. And whether you call it pedophilia or intergenerational sexual preference, there is no whitewashing. It's all extremely despicable. And then we have incest, domestic and child abuse, child prostitution, sexual assault and battery, even involving minors, child rape, molestation, explicit, moderate, and graphic violence, and of course we have murder, bulimia, anorexia, self-harm, suicide ideation, suicide attempts, and suicide itself. We have drug, alcohol use, abuse, even by minors, various kinds of smoking. One character says her only significance in it is her womb. Do we really want young minds to grab onto such narrow, sick, perverse, and identity statements? Excess profanity, derogatory remarks and treatment, inflammatory, controversial racial, social, and religious commentaries, confusing ideologies, identities, all found in the APS libraries, even some content in middle schools. And, you know, we could, in perhaps other meetings, we could talk about all the harm that these things do by professionals, and we hope to even present. We're not against people, we're not against, you know, it's not about that. It's just protecting the innocent, and I never thought I'd be up here 20 years ago trying to defend, you know, something like this. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the committee tonight?
Elaine Marine, 500 Menden Road. Thank you for this opportunity to speak and for the efforts and the changes that have been made. Please know that this is not our highest goal, and we're going to keep reaching. To that end, I've decided to continue with this altered presentation. Agreed that some of the topics just mentioned can be handled in a redemptive way, but when a child is alone with a book, who's there to turn it around for good? And concerning sexual activities, this occurred in an APS restroom recently with video. The door has been opened. By great error, our kids have been sexualized. The sowing has become reaping. You rightly ban or correct many of these activities just mentioned on our campuses. But take note, we give our kids to eat and drink of these things in their reading materials. We know and cannot deny it does get into their psyche. SEL purports promoting safety for our kids. What can justify that they woefully missed or likely ignored this aspect of safety? Concerning this restroom incident, who can honestly look into the eyes of these students and not at least take partial blame? How about taking a bit closer look? Though we would fight this argument and want to believe it, who can 100% declare that such incidents would never happen to my kid. Who can truly know the tipping point of another as society is where it's never been in our lifetime? We all know our kids are bombarded daily with perversity from multiple formats and on many levels. And these walls have not proven a shelter from that influence. What if it was your son, your daughter? What if your daughter was violently raped and your son the perpetrator with the opposite or the same sex? What if there's a pregnancy involved and outside of your knowledge, your daughter has an abortion? You must know all these things have lifelong consequences. But there's always a now time to turn it around, and it's more so not about where we have been, but where we're headed. Movies are rated. Why have harmful reading materials had total free rein into our kids' hearts, minds, bodies, spirits, souls, identities, worldviews, and relationships? The literary value excuse, the author and book awards excuses, our current rating system are all anemic and lacking. I've checked into the accelerated reader. It lacks content of all the things that are truly found in a book. And this is especially when you weigh the benefit and risk ratio and the availability of other well-written materials dealing with the same issues, but in ways that are informative, meaningful and not harmful. Though it has recently eroded, parents want to trust schools and to provide a safe place for their kids. Can we now turn to improve that trust to our sights, to set our sights on working on a rating system that accounts for more specific content rather than primarily reading level? Let it be known that parents were the ones who came up with and are the guardians of movie ratings. And it's absolutely...
Chairman, that's 3 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Marie.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the committee at open forum tonight?
My name's David Dansby, 139 Hackett Avenue. Wanted to read some of this, but with minor children in this room, I'm not going to do it. I will say, this push by Sapphire, they're going to make it into a movie. That's going to be good family viewing.
It already came out.
One thing I want to say, I was deeply disturbed the last time when a committee member's wife came up. A lot of virtue signaling, a lot of name calling, that wasn't necessary. She was angry, I don't get that. I'm not here to burn any books. I'm not here to ban books. I'm not here to censor anybody. But don't virtue signal to me. I signed a contract with this country. I took an oath to protect its freedoms and liberties of every people, to destroy any enemy, foreign or domestic. I still take that oath seriously. So please don't virtue signal to me. Don't point your fingers at me. I'm not here to do anything but to bring awareness. And we're making progress. This is good. We have a system in place now that's hopefully going to snowball. Last time I talked to you, I got you to agree with me that everybody experiments with their body when they go into puberty. Not one person disagreed with that. So why would you have a manual for that? It's beyond me. But again, I'm not going to talk about this while there are children here. So that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the committee tonight at open forum?
Cheryl Harris, 14 Greenwich Street, South Attleboro. I just want to stand and applaud the committee and the administration on your stance to listen to parents and restricting the books that they request for their children while avoiding banning books for all children. I think that it's, as the students have said, to provide a wide range of information and to enforce critical thinking helps to make people available and able to operate in the world. So I applaud the school committee on your stance and the administration on what you are doing, and I hope and trust that you will hold to that and not fall into censorship.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the committee tonight?
My name is Dorothy Lamar, and I live at 192 Park Circle in South Attleboro.
and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. And I would like to state, and I represent my friends, we are not calling for a ban on books. We are not against books that present ideas or values that are different from our own. What we are asking is for age-appropriate learning material. Providing age and developmental appropriate materials is critical in education. We need reading material that advances independent thought and critical thinking. Explicit sexual acts is most often thought to be pictures or videos or sexual acts. But the depiction of these sexual acts in animated content, such as cartoons and video games, and in literature, is disturbingly profane. The American Bar Association states that exposure to explicit sexual acts harms children and youth by normalizing sexual violence, creating unrealistic expectations for intimate partners and relationships, and increases the risk of addiction. That happens whether it's a graphic video or an explicit passage in a book. Again, what we are asking for is age-appropriate educational material. Thank you, each one, for hearing me, and we appreciate the steps you have taken, and we await further action on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the committee at open forum?
Good evening. My name is Mark Connors. I live at 58 Stanley Street in Attleboro, and I come before the committee to let you know that I once again support you in delivering an educational experience that our students both need and want to have. Books are not something that should be banned. Books are a means to describe an imperfect society that we all live in. They challenge convictions. They challenge beliefs. They open minds to understanding topics and subjects that, if we were to take them away, will limit us. The steps that you're taking to allow a parent to make a decision for their child is the extent at which you guys should stop making policy. I don't care if you label something age appropriate. I don't care if you come up here and go ahead and talk about topics that are insensitive. Mr. Geddes hit on the topic correctly tonight when he referenced that one of the books, or two of the books, based on religion and the beliefs that are put there, and basically parables and an understanding or a context of what people should or should not believe, are now the targets of being removed from being understood. They belong, as much as some of the materials that have been talked about here, in a public discourse for people to learn from. Nobody should continue to push on, I'm doing this in the name of such. You can do that with your own kid. Please don't do it with mine. And please do not make that decision or allow that decision to be made on behalf of any student in this school system in what you actually deliver. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the committee tonight at open forum?
Julie Rigby, 70 Holly Street. Do we have to wait for the federal government to make a law before we can make a common sense decision? I mean, they're talking to the internet companies now about this sort of thing. I mean, do we allow, can we allow 10 or 11, 12-year-old kids to drive? I mean, some of them drive. They do very well. But the law says they have to be 16. And even when they have a license, they have some restrictions for the next year. You have to be 18 to buy a gun, even though you might be a very good shot. I mean, there are laws to protect kids as they mature and come into different phases of their life. I can't believe that any parent wants their child to see some of these images that we have seen in these books. just because something is available, it doesn't mean it's the right choice. I mean, there are thousands of books out there covering these same topics that can be a choice for the schools and not have these situations, not have these illustrations, the incredibly vulgar illustrations and text that we presented to you last time. We do appreciate the decision, the move forward you've made, and we hope to keep working with you so that we can reach a solution that's happy to us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the committee at open forum tonight? All right, I will close open.
Good evening, Beverly Halecki, 35 Canadian Gate Road. We keep hearing the word book banning. No one has asked for books to be banned, but it's a hot topic word, which has got people in the door. People are interested in being here. They hear the word hot topic, banning books. No one's asking for books to be banned. We're asking for children to be protected from these sexually graphic books, obscene books, sexually violent books, books that children don't need to be reading. People stood up here and said, oh, I'm honest to God, I can't believe we're having this discussion here in 2023. I agree. I can't believe we're having this discussion in 2023 when there's so much literature out there that prove how harmful this type of material can be for our children. And I can't honestly believe there are parents who want their children to read this. But you know what? If you want your child to read that, that's your right as a parent. And it's available in our Attleboro Public School libraries, as we see. But why should I have to tell the school or tell the library my child needs permission to check out any book? Why aren't these books kept in a separate section like they are at Kowalo, upper grade level, 9 through 12, or at Kowalo Middle School? As we can, the accelerated reader program actually says upper grade is 9 through 12, yet 7th and 8th graders are allowed to freely browse all those titles. Why is there not a separate section at the high school where permission needs to be asked to take out these books? And if you want to give your child permission, then that's fine. Go ahead and do that. I hear we shouldn't infringe on parents' rights, and parents have a right to make choices for their children. I find it very hypocritical for some of you on the school committee to sit here and tell me you don't want to infringe on parents' rights. For 2 years, you infringed on my rights, masking up my child. Those of you who voted to infringe on parents' rights and say, we're only going to allow the children to unmask if they got the COVID vaccination. Do you remember that? Do you remember those of you who voted that? Grade 7 and up, you're going to be allowed to unmask if you were vaxxed. Who was infringing on who? That obviously didn't take place, and then the state came in and they issued their own mandate, luckily for some of you, because I was prepared to stand outside your houses. You infringed on my rights as a parent, but now we want to turn it around. No one's trying to take anything away from anyone. If you want your child to read those books, they're there in the library, go ahead. But there should not be access for all children. As a former foster parent, I can tell you that the children whose parents aren't involved, those children need to be protected the most. So those children aren't having little conversations at the dinner table with their parents about what they're reading.
Mr. Chairman, that's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the committee tonight at open forum?
I don't think
I'm sorry, sir. You're only allowed one. You're free to join us in 2 weeks when we're back here again.
3 weeks.
3 weeks? All right, 3 weeks, sorry. Anyone else who'd like to address the committee at open forum tonight? All right, I will close open forum. Thank you to all the members of the community who got up and spoke tonight. Any other new business? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.